Hey everyone, Eric with Rockin H. Today what we're going to do is lower this Peterbilt. I see questions on Facebook and I've received them in private messages and email. Eric, how do I lower my Pete to make it slow and low, or make it a low rider, or however people want to say it? I've heard a million variations of the same question, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this a low rider. There's the basic tools you're going to need to get this project going. We're going to start at the rear and work forward. First thing we're going to do is remove these rear tires. If you have this tire tool, that makes it super handy. These are for sale in my store. Save them wheels, we're not going very far with them. Okay, what we'll do, there's this suspension right here. We're going to remove that so we can lower the rear end first. If you put your knife underneath that spring, you can turn it out like so, and out it comes. There's one done. If it's easier, you can take out this whole rear end. It just pins into the frame, but that's not necessary. Then you can reinstall your tires. And if one happens to come loose, you can put a little glue in there so that doesn't wiggle around. But for this demonstration, we're just going to push this on and call it good. Take this leftover suspension and put it in your parts bin. Occasionally on teardown of other trucks, you can lose one of these, and that's kind of a pain. At least you'll have a couple spares now that you've taken out and lowered the rear end. Next, we're going to take off the front bumper to give ourselves a little more room to work. There's some squished plastic right behind the diecast. I'm going to cut that out quick to hopefully save the pins on the bumper. And there we go, both pins. Hallelujah, that's pretty cool. The next step, we're going to take off this bracket right here, and we're going to take this spindle on the passenger side and flip it to the driver's side, and driver's side to passenger side. I'll show you why in just a moment. Now, I'm grabbing that back part of the suspension right here with my curved plier, and I'm just gently twisting that up. Now, I'm not going to get too carried away. You can break these. Wouldn't say that's a common thing to do, but it can happen, so just be aware. Next, if you can try prying up here in the middle, and off it goes, just like so. Now, we will take the front wheels off. Now, here's why we're going to flip these. See this part here? That is much shorter than this part, which is actually going in to the diecast here. So what we'll do is we're going to flip this like so, and then we're going to turn our tie rod over, put it back on. So we're going to put the short part into the diecast versus the long, which was the way we had it. Now, what do you do if this does not go back together easy? Well, I'm glad you asked. If it's not going together really well and simple, don't force it. That usually breaks stuff. In an effort to make this a little easier, what we'll do is use a bit that's slightly bigger than that hole. We're going to clean out the glue and any paint that might be in there. Now, it should go together much easier. Also, what you can do is take your needle nose plier and just break any glue and paint off that might be on these pins that went into the diecast. That will also clean them up and make them slide just a little easier. So if you're having any trouble at all pushing this back together, do go ahead and clean the pins and then drill out the holes. If you have to fight it, that'll just frustrate you, and there's no reason to be mad at Diecast. One other thing we're going to do here, now that I know everything will go together smoothly, I'm going to take just a little bit of glue so I am sure those pins won't come out. Since this is a donor that I intend to use for another purpose after this demonstration, I'm not putting glue in all the holes. That way I can take it apart if I need to for another project. Now you'll notice my tie rod fell off the one arm, or the one spindle. That's not a problem. We can put that on after the fact. The front end is seated in the holes, and then we just have the back end to put to seat, and then we'll be done. There we go. And finally we'll put the tie rod over that pin, and we will be done. There we go. Reinstall the bumper and we're ready to go trucking. Take a look at these photos. You can see that there's a noticeable difference between the truck that's been lowered and the stock one that has been untouched. Flipping the spindles and taking out the suspension does lower the truck. You can get an even lower look if you buy some low pro tires. They did come on some DCP trucks. Periodically they're released on current runs. You just got to look for one and then do a tire swap. You can get a little lower look than what we see here. After I shot this video, it occurred to me I didn't explain one thing about the process we've just completed. Because we flipped the spindles, the tie rod is now sitting on the bottom versus the top. So prior to this, when the spindles were right side up, this hook right here, or this pin, was facing up, and this tie rod went on top. Well, now you can see it's on the bottom. You'll notice here a gap. There's little teeth on the bottom of this tie rod. Previously, those teeth would grab this little die-cast groove at the bottom of the transmission, and that would allow your tires to be positioned. Well, we've lost that now because you can see there is a obvious gap in there, at least 1/8 of an inch. So something to be aware of as you complete this job. The good fortune in this particular build is the tie rod does rest on your springs, so it shouldn't come off. Be aware that it could come off as you position the tires, move it around your layout or display, or handle it otherwise. Generally this won't be a problem because most of us, once we get a truck done, it sits on a shelf, it sits on a desk or some other position where it's not moved. So be confident that this will remain in its place provided it's just not handled excessively. So something I wanted to bring to your attention as we wrapped up this build, and I thought of it after the fact. So, happy building! If you like this video, share it with a friend. Also, subscribe to Diecast Lab. That's the best way you can support my channel and support everything that goes on with Rockin H. I'll lead you by the hand, step by step, with video tutorials, white papers, and other downloads that'll teach you everything I know, even how to turn your hobby into a profitable business. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.